At the beginning, let's start with a short introduction about Open Intercharge Protocol itself and Hubject, company that has developed this protocol. In general, Hubject is one of the most important companies on the European market that offered large, unified and open e-roaming network called Intercharge. Hubject acts like a hub for numerous e-mobility partners like charge point operators and e-mobility service providers. Hubject became quite popular because he offered the possibility to integrate with a lot of individual market players at relatively low cost. The goal of Hubject is to create an e-mobility platform that will simplify communication between charge point operators and e-mobility service providers. They would also like to automate their contract-based relationships. In order to achieve that, each partner must agree on common terms under Hubject User Agreement. Signing Hubject User Agreement is mandatory in order to use their platform. Of course, each partner may have additional contract. For example, e-mobility service provider may have a contract with end customer, as well as charge point operator may have a contract with distribution system operator. Previously mentioned simplification of communication is mostly achieved by using well-defined and standardized protocol called Open Intercharge Protocol, currently developed by Hubject. This protocol defines the messages format and possible operations to perform depending whether you are eMSP or CPO. OICP is one of the most popular protocol in Europe and it mostly covers the communication between CPO and eMSP. As a proof for the popularity that I've mentioned, here we have a list of partners that already integrate with Hubject via OICP or would like to integrate. We can find here big names like Electrify America, Innogy, Ubitricity, Virta or Porsche. Also, Hubject claims that over 960 partners already use Intercharge network, so we can only imagine how many possibilities it can offer. The OICP protocol is divided into different services which specify a list of operations to perform. For example, we have authorization service, which consists of operations like e-roaming authorization start, e-roaming authorization stop, e-roaming authorization remote start, remote stop, and e-roaming charge detail record. Each service may also have a different set of operations to perform depending on the role. For example, in EVSE data service, we have e-roaming pull EVSE data specified only to EMP and e-roaming push EVSE data specified only to CPO. In order to be fully compatible with a service, you as a partner need to implement all of the operations that are marked mandatory for your role. Typically, it means that most of the operations, or even all, must be implemented. We will cover all of those services independently within this course. You've already heard the terms like charge point operator or e-mobility service providers. But what exactly does it mean, and how they can interact with Hubject platform? Let's start with charge point operator. Charge point operator is a partner that owns charging infrastructure, would like to expose it to as many customers as possible, and that would like to benefit from e-roaming network. OICP allows CPOs to expose their charging infrastructure to any customer that has a valid contract with an EMP already registered in Hubject network. CPOs have their dedicated service interfaces in OICP. On the other hand, we have e-mobility service providers. Those are the partners that would like to offer access to big public charging infrastructure to all of its customers. OICP in this case allows them to identify and communicate with charging stations which are available in Hubject network. eMSPs also have their dedicated service interfaces in OICP. Hubject distinguishes between offline and online EMP. Offline EMP stands out with no need for real-time connection for authorization, the most important process. Offline EMP does not have to handle authentication data on its own. Instead, he pushes the data to Hubject platform. After that, Hubject will try to authorize any incoming charging session with the data that was sent, without any additional interaction with EMP if that's possible. That comes with a small trade-off. As an EMP, you will need to pull CDRs on your own from Hubject platform. It will not be automatically forwarded to you after the charging session is completed. We may also have an online EMP, which is characterized by real-time connection for authorization. That means that this kind of EMP must implement authorization service and handle authorization start-stop requests on its own. That will allow Hubject to forward requests automatically to EMP if he cannot authorize them on their platform. On the other hand, CDRs which are created are automatically forwarded to EMP almost real-time. That means that online EMP also must implement a service for accepting and processing CDRs. Now, let's briefly introduce services from CPO perspective. The first one is eRoaming Authorization Service, which covers all authorization process, including remote start, remote stop, and CDR processing. Then we have eRoaming Reservation Service. As the name suggests, it allows you to reserve a charging station. This feature can be optionally offered by CPO. Then we have eRoaming EVSE data and eRoaming EVSE status. Both services allows you to push and pull EVSE data, with small difference. EVSE data is all about static data, like location, and EVSE status is all about dynamic data. Then we have eRoaming Dynamic Pricing Service. Even though it's dynamic, it covers mostly flexible pricing, which we will discuss later. For now, we need to remember that this service allows you to push and pull pricing product details and see which pricing product is specified to given EVSE. Then we have eRoaming Charging Notification Service. Basically, this service covers all the events that can happen during charging session. For example, start, stop, progress, or error. When it comes to the services from EMP perspective, it's almost the same like for CPO, with one small detail. We have eRoaming Authentication Data Service. This service allows EMP to push authentication data to Hubject platform. This option allows EMP to behave like an offline EMP, which we have covered before. At the end of this short introduction, we also need to mention a release policy, because it's very specific in OICP. Each previously mentioned service is versioned individually and independently from OICP version. For example, we may have eRoaming Authorization Service in version 2.1, and we may have OICP version in 2.2 at the same time. Each new OICP release version results in a new service version specification. Those are the services that will be supported. Each new OICP release version must be supported by Hubject for at least 2 years. And at last, each new implementation should be done with the latest OICP version. Currently, it's 2.3. Here we have an example how release policy works in practice. The data here is not valid and it's only for the need of the presentation. As you can see, each OICP version has its own service version specification, which is mandatory for given OICP version. First two OICP versions, 2.0 and 2.1, is already deprecated. Therefore, for eRoaming Service X version 1.0 and 1.1 is also deprecated. The next three OICP versions are still supported. Therefore, eRoaming Service X version 2.0, 2.1 and 2.2 is also supported. If OICP version 2.2 becomes deprecated, then eRoaming Service X version 2.0 and eRoaming Service Z version 2.1 also will become deprecated, because the next OICP version 2.3 is not supporting those service versions. On the other hand, for eRoaming Service Y, version 2.1 would still be supported, because the next OICP version still supports that service version. In this course, we will focus on the latest OICP version, which is 2.3. In this table, you can find the service version specification. We will cover eRoaming Authorization Service 2.1, eRoaming Authentication Data 2.1, eRoaming Reservation 1.1, eRoaming EVSE Data 2.3, eRoaming EVSE Status 2.1, eRoaming Dynamic Pricing 1.0, and eRoaming Charging Notifications 1.1.